Well, hello and welcome to the Community Affairs Committee, the CAC webinar, What's Instagram and Why You Should Add It to Your Social Media Strategy. My name is Anne-Marie Queenie and I am the CAC Chair, and thank you for joining us today. And it's my pleasure to welcome back Maureen Scalatino. She did a wonderful webinar on the 5 hacks to improve your social media last month. So we're looking forward to this presentation. As a reminder, everyone will be muted, and Maureen has left time at the end of the webinar for questions. So please type your questions in the Q&A panel or the chat panel, and Erin and I will monitor it. And Erin Galilee is here today also, and she's the STC Director of Membership and Community Relations, and she's our technical manager today. So just a brief I know those of you who were attending last month know about Maureen, but she has quite a background. She has 30 plus years of experience in marketing for financial services and corporate relocation, real estate, manufacturing, and pharmaceutical industries. And she currently contributes and manages the website and social media content for the STC Philadelphia Metro chapter, Southampton Community Band, and a Los Angeles Canyon Living Real Estate. She's also involved as a webmaster for Our Lady of Consolation Church in Philadelphia. So she has a BA in journalism and earned her MS in technical communication with a concentration in social media and online communities in 2019 from Northeastern University. So thank you all again for attending today. And it's my pleasure now to turn the program over to Maureen.
Thank you, Anne-Marie, and thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I hope that the information I'm able to give you is going to be very informative and will make you think about whether or not, if you don't have Instagram as part of your social media arsenal, then maybe it is one of those platforms that you would like to add to your arsenal. So what does Instagram have that you might be missing? And tonight's agenda is these 5 topics. What exactly is Instagram? And yes, we are going to review some statistics. You can't get away from it when you're talking about social media. Who exactly is using Instagram? Why should you consider Instagram? Now listen to that. Why should you consider Instagram? I'm not telling you to use it, but I want to give you some points so that you can take them back to your organizations and think about if Instagram is right for your organization. And of course, with all other social media, there are some drawbacks, and these are important drawbacks. So, what exactly is Instagram? Instagram was started in 2010 as an entirely mobile visual platform. You opened your account, you opened the app, you manage the app, you take the pictures all on your cell phone, and it's stored all in your photos in your photo gallery on your phone. And its sole purpose was so that you could share images and videos with their audience. But this sounds a little like another social media platform that some of you may know. It's called Flickr. Flickr was established in 2004, but there's a main difference in Instagram and Flickr. Flickr, I like to think, is a CRM. Everyone in the world, say, is posting pictures of the Eiffel Tower. And by chance, if you need a picture of the Eiffel Tower for a business profile, or you just love the Eiffel Tower, you can actually go on to Flickr, type in Eiffel Tower in your search engine, and all of the pictures of everyone that has a Flickr account shows up. You choose what photo you like, you download it, there's no copyright infringement privileges, and you can use it publicly and privately. But that's not Instagram. Its initial release was in 2010, and it rose to the third most popular media platform in just 2 years. That's quite an impact that Instagram had on the community and the world. But there was also a social media platform that thought, no. It's going to kind of start to compete with us. We really can't have that. So what happened in 2012? Mark Zuckerberg bought it. So now Instagram has become, it's not solely independent anymore. It is now part of the Facebook family of apps. And Facebook owns not only Facebook, but now Instagram and the WhatsApp. And the WhatsApp has been around for a very, very long time. So those are your three platforms that are owned by Facebook. But it's still run by a smartphone app. You can still run independently of Facebook. You can still take pictures and be very creative with your pictures and post them to Instagram. They won't post to Facebook. They post only to Instagram. And in 2014, Instagram rolled out the business profile. So now the app and the platform have been in existence for 4 years, but it was only a personal profile that you could have. And if you remember, as Instagram has become popular, so has the selfie. So Instagram gave people an opportunity to promote themselves on Instagram. And so in 2014, the business profile was rolled out. What does that mean? It means now we can have ad campaigns on Instagram and much, much more. And we'll get to that in a little bit. And then in 2018, there was such a need for people like me who do most of the social media on a laptop. There had to have been a way so that Instagram could help you post to the app without using your cell phone. So they developed an app via the computer. It's a little bit more tricky to use, and it's really not as flexible or as creative as using the app on your phone, but it still gets the job done. And yes, here we go, more stats. Why are stats important? If you remember, if you're old enough and you remember way back when, we used to have the Nielsen ratings. Now, I don't know whether they still exist because you don't hear about them anymore. But Nielsen used to, if you were interested in giving them information about the TV shows that you were watching and when you were watching and what your hours of watching were, they would have a box delivered, or they would come to your home and they would plug in a box on top of your TV, and it would monitor, and all of the statistics would go into this box and be fed to Nielsen so that they could figure out, well, when is prime time? What are you watching? Are people interested in the news? Well, this is very, very similar. But there's so many social media platforms now. There is no Nielsen ratings for social media. But I like to, and I know that there are a lot of vendors out there, there's Hootsuite, there's Sprout Social, there's HubSpot, and they're very, very viable vendors that gather statistics. But I actually like to get my statistics from the Pew Research Center. And they're actually, it is Pew Charitable Trusts. Many of you will recognize that name, but I like to go to Pew Research. About every year and a half to 2 years, they have another study on social media, and they're very, very thorough, and they provide graphs that support their statistics, and I find it very, very informative. So, why should you care about statistics? Over 1 billion people used Instagram just last year. Now, it's probably an average, but that's a lot of people. And businesses are looking at that statistic and thinking, these are people that I can generate revenue from. One that I didn't realize is that 9 in 10 people follow a specific business account or a profile or multiple. Now, these are not people. They're business accounts. Now, if Kim Kardashian has a business profile, well, then I guess she's a business. And I guess, you know, keeping up with the Kardashians can be a busy thing. But you're looking at JCPenney or, you know, 6 ABC News here in Philadelphia and STC. 90% of US marketers think that Instagram is one of the most important social media platforms for influencer marketing. This is a big rage. It has been for the last 5 years. Like I said, Kim Kardashian, her sister Khloe, if you can, you know, if you can get Khloe Kardashian or Khloe Jenner, who has, I don't know, I think more than 1 million followers, or at least it seems that way, and she can dig your brand and she endorses your brand, that's just money in your pocket. But you have to be careful which influencers, and I talked about this last month. I didn't, if you were here, if you were not here for last month's presentation, influencer marketing, you just have to be careful with it because you need to make sure that they represent your brand. And if they're not right for your brand, then they really should not be considered. So here's just a chart. I've just circled it. 63% of people using social media are using Instagram. That's a lot of people. Now, has that turns into numbers? I couldn't tell you. I don't know how the 63% relates to the 1.2 billion people. But that's still over 50% of the population is on Instagram. So who is exactly using Instagram? Now, these statistics may be very, very surprising, and you may want to think about your target audience, the one that you missed, the one that you want to reach, the one that you thought worked but didn't, because these statistics will probably make you better understand who you're going after and where they are. So the largest audience is 25 to 34-year-olds. That encompasses college graduates, young professionals, and then they're followed strictly by the 18 to 24-year-olds. Well, these are high school seniors. They're going to college and possibly studying technical communication. There are students, college students, that could be studying technical communication. Now, typically, depending upon the university or the college that you go to, at 18, if you're a freshman, you're not really choosing your major. They usually decide that when you're going into your junior year. So this is a great way to start promoting to them before they really actually go into college. Although it will still have an effect if they go into college. They can always change their major. Now, this was interesting. Men slightly outnumber women in both of those categories above. Now, I always thought Instagram was like a chick social media platform. Mostly women were on it, and they were probably between their 20s and their 30s. But as I've been doing my research and using this for my organizations and for my social media strategies, I've come to know that that's not necessarily true. But what was also interesting is that women outnumber men in 35 and above. If that is your age bracket target audience, then that's a really interesting statistic for you that you need to think about. And that's just the first 3 bullets are those that at least are logged into Instagram once per day. Let's take a look at who's on more than once per day. 67%, 18 to 24-year-olds. If you are trying to access those high school seniors, college freshmen, recent college graduates, and those that are beginning to move into the workforce and be young professionals, this is a really important statistic. The next one is 25 to 34-year-olds. Sometimes this age bracket are those that have moved in to their beginning employer. Maybe they like their industry, but they're going to move on to another employer, and they're going to move up the ranks in with whatever industry they're in. But 34 is also a really good time to change industries. So some people, if you're working, doing grunt work on a computer and just doing a certain language, that person may have already gone back or is in school getting their master's, and maybe they're in web development. So you have to think about this statistic as well. 49% are 35 to 44-year-olds. These are people that are heavily dedicated to their industry. So they're just above that half percentage mark, but they're still important to your target audience. And then we have 43% with 45 to 55, 50 to 54, and then 31% to 55 and older. So these are pretty important. These are pretty high statistics for people that are just looking at a mobile app. So let's take a deeper look into some more statistics. 43% of women are on Instagram. Excuse me. 31% are men. 43% are college graduates. That's almost half. Now this was interesting. 37% had some college. So that means that they could also be interested in going back to school, getting another degree. Maybe they didn't finish their first degree, decided to change industries, and now want to get a degree in the new industry that they're in. Or maybe they've just decided that, you know, they want to go back and they want to move into another field. So this statistic is something that you really need to think about. Now, this is a really high statistic, but this was very interesting. 91% of people using Instagram follow an interest. They follow a business, they follow a sports organization, and they could be following STC. You never know. They could be following your organization, your branch. They could actually be following someone that is a member of your branch and your chapter. You never know. And 76% keep track of events. Why is this important? Because you can advertise on Instagram. So if you were given a scenario, as I am, to promote tickets to what is now our Conduit 2021 in a few weeks, there's a link posted on our website. There's a link posted on our Facebook page. And there's a link posted on Instagram. But to be perfectly honest, I'm not tracking the Instagram as much as I'm tracking the Facebook because I'm not used to it. It's not part of the overall strategy, but it's still important because instead of having one or two outlets to bring in revenue, now you have three. And this is just a chart from Pew to say the percentages of those that are on the top 5 social media sites and how often they are online. Now you can see Facebook is still at 51%. That's still over half. But Snapchat, which are younger kids, typically 16 to early 20s. So even with Snapchat, you could probably reach just the cusp of an age bracket that you're interested in reaching. But Instagram has 42% that they're on several times a day. So that's a pretty high statistic. Okay, so with all the statistics out of the way, why should you consider Instagram? It's just a photo app. It's not a big deal. Well, it's bigger than you think. Yes, you can reach a younger audience and other professionals because there are a lot of professionals in technical communication that have Instagram accounts. They could be influencers for you. it has some functions that maybe you didn't realize. So maybe you thought, yes, I can take some video and I can post pictures. But you can also link Instagram with Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. Now, Tumblr is not a widely used social media for industries. It's mainly, posts about your personal thing. You can post a poem, you can post a newsletter, you can post a flyer, but it's not widely used like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Okay, so Instagram offers the following posting options. Instagram stories. You may see it in your newsfeed if you have a Facebook page, even if you have an Instagram account, you will see it. It's if you go to your Facebook page, that circle with the camera in the middle, and usually they have it across the top of your telephone. See, I'm old. Telephone, your smartphone. You'll be able to see that it goes right across the top of your phone. They have Reels. Reels are short movies. IGTV. Oh, and just to let you know, IG means Instagram. I figured you probably knew that because it had TV next to it. And no, it's not live TV, but we'll go into that in just a bit. Now, you may see that this image looks the same as it does in Facebook. Yes, you can see the Facebook blue and the Instagram orange and red. And that's because Instagram is now part of Facebook and now has incorporated Messenger, which used to be Instagram direct messaging, or DM. And of course, you can shop on Instagram. Why not? You can shop everywhere else online, right? So Instagram stories, what are Instagram stories? They're very quick, they're easy to share. Mainly people do quick videos or a photograph. They can put a background around it. They can type on it. They can scribble on it. They can write on it. They can draw arrows. They can make stickers. They can put music to it. And you've probably seen them, but you just didn't know that they were under Instagram stories. And it's real, and it can really work for your brand. And you can use different effects like boomerang and super zoom. And super zoom is pretty self-explanatory. But boomerang, some of your friends may be doing boomerang, like if they were out for a jog or they were out for a walk, they film themselves walking. And then the effect they use is their right foot goes out and hits the pavement and comes back, and goes out and hits and comes back. That's boomerang. You can add questions and stickers and features. It's really actually very fun. It's a little difficult to get used to it, but it can actually get very addictive. And this is basically just, a little thing of what you can do with stories. But I'm going to actually move on and use one of, since it's National Puppy Day, my puppy Bella is going to be the star here. So I actually took this picture with my phone. That's my shirt in my lap. And she was laying on the sofa right next to me. And she looked up at me and I took that picture. So when I put it into stories, I was able to put a little floral design on there. And then I typed that face. I could have also written it. I could have put stars and arrows and flowers all around her head, but I had to create the box. And in the box, you can select your border color. You can select the color of the background, the inside of the box. You can select what typeface you want. You can select whether it's bold or not bold. So you can get very creative with stories. Here she is again. And this just demonstrates the kinds of backgrounds you can use. These are just hearts, as you can see, but you can have fireworks. You can have, I think they have one that has bunny ears or something to that. And since we're coming close to Easter, you may want to keep an eye out for that because that's really cute for the kids. This one you can't really tell because it is a snapshot, but it is a video. Those are my husband's feet. And we were taking Bella out for a walk one day and her tail was wagging and she was just a happy camper. So I just wrote that caption and then posted it under Instagram stories. And even though they last about 15 seconds, which you don't think is much, they are stored in your content library. So you can reuse them if you choose. But you have to be careful about reusing them. If you're trying to get a message across or it's part of an ad campaign, you have to make sure that that photo or that video is relevant to that particular campaign. You may be better off shooting another one from your phone or doing another photo, doing a photo shoot, or just taking something while you're walking that has something to do with your campaign. You just want to all make it relevant. Instagram Reels. These last a little longer. Instagram stories are about 5 seconds to 15 seconds long. Actually, I think they're probably about 15 seconds long. I was looking at a few last night for this presentation. But the Reels, and this is the icon for Reels, that's how you can tell them apart, and you can find them in Instagram. And I believe you can also find them in Facebook. I could be wrong. I haven't used Reels yet, but I'm looking forward to doing that. And that if you use them on your phone, you can be much more creative, like you can with stories. There's filters. You can, make them a different color. You can incorporate audio if it has no audio. You can use text. You can write. You can, do the same as you can with stories. You can get very, very creative, and you can upload them to your gallery, and it stays in your content. You can also, this is part of a campaign that you're doing, you can also do little snippets of the campaign and draw your followers along as to what you want them to follow. If you're trying to say, coordinate a conference, you can take it from beginning to end, and you can start them off with a business meeting and everybody talking, and then you can post that. And then the next time maybe you're writing a business plan for that particular conference, or you're doing an invitation list, and you can post that. And you can take them through the process of gathering information and coordinating a conference. And then at the very, very end, your video could be your conference or your keynote speaker, so that you take your audience as if they were part of your planning process and take them through the entire directional way so that they can be part of your conference. You can amplify your ideas with audio. And what's great is that Instagram has a music library. You can record it. You can do voiceovers to clips. So Instagram is really very fun and very creative. And this is just a photo of two gals on the beach, as you can see, and they're having fun with Instagram. IGTV. Okay, this is the longer form of Reels. It isn't limited to just 30 seconds or a minute. It actually can go, I believe, for 30 minutes. And it's not a little icon on your screen. It takes up your entire screen, so you are fully enveloped into the story. It can personalize you like no one else can. And you're the only one that knows how to personalize your organization. It comes from the heart. It comes from, knowing your craft and trying to create a story that people will be able to follow very easily. And that's just the icon. Okay. It's also very similar to stories. So it'll go in your feed, and you can comment. People can comment, they can share, they can like, they can love, so that people know what kind of reactions are. And this is a great feature if you're doing ad campaigns, because then you can see what people really engaged with. And that will give you an idea of your target audience and what they like, so that you can develop future posts. And a longer form of video sometimes is the best way of presenting your brand, because it's easier to tell a longer story. Messenger. Okay, So this used to be, as I mentioned earlier, this used to be direct messaging. But now, since it is part of the Facebook family, it is Messenger. And you can basically do the same thing that you could with Facebook. You can send videos, you can send pictures, you can send a text message. But with Instagram, you can also do effects and captions, which you cannot do in Facebook. You can also watch the videos on Instagram, and not just in Messenger, but you can watch it on your phone. And sometimes you can, invite people to chat with you and they can find it. And now Messenger has a video function so that you can actually video through Instagram and through Messenger. You can customize everything. And like I said, Instagram is very, very creative. Sometimes on the fly, social media can be great on the fly, but especially with all of these customizations you can make. And unfortunately, if you're sitting at your laptop and you want to do this with a video you just took with your camera, there I go again, camera, phone, it doesn't have the functions. Your laptop doesn't have the functions, and Facebook doesn't have the functions that you can have through Instagram and through the app on your phone. Plus, what's really nice is if you can vanish it after, you can let the vanish mode go and the conversation will disappear. So that's kind of nice. And it's a nice way to seemingly connect with friends, family, colleagues. I can see this being a great tool, especially in real estate, if you're showing a home, if you're coordinating a conference and you have something that you want the rest of your staff or your colleagues to see, or the planning team to see, you can share it in Messenger. And of course, no social media platform is complete without a shopping app. And this came about not too long ago. I'd say within the last 4 to 5 years that you have been able to shop online, because of course it's a great thing with the pandemic, and it's been a great feature through the pandemic for brands that are used to selling online. It has a customizable storefront, so it has pictures. If you want to promote, say you're a retail store and you have a brand new t-shirt that's rainbow colored, you've never had it before, you can feature that shirt, but you can also tag other shirts that you have in your collection, and people can scroll through it and see what other things you have. So if you were to have something, if you have books you want to sell, or flags you want to sell, whatever the item is, even if you have t-shirts, if you have several different kinds of t-shirts, branded t-shirts that you want to promote, this is the great way to promote them. And what's great is that because it's like a storefront, you have product tags. It's like going to the store and taking the tag off the sleeve and looking at it. It has the price, it has the model number, it has the color. It's the same kind of thing, only now instead of picking up the tag, you're swiping through the items. And of course, like every social media platform, they want to keep you on the app. So if you see something you like and you want to check out, you don't have to go somewhere else or click a link and go somewhere else to pay for it, and it's connected to PayPal or whatnot. You can actually pay through it seemingly using Facebook Pay. And this is a great way for them to keep you on the app, because once you buy something, then you may stay there to find out what else they have to offer. But of course, everything has a drawback, right? They're not very serious, but these are some things that you need to think about and to decide whether or not this is the right platform for you. It's premier and it's an accessible platform for brand promotion. However, with everything else, there's brands out there everywhere But Instagram was known, and I'm going to say this is my own opinion, is the selfie social media platform of the world. Okay. It began as a personal app that you take pictures and promote yourself on. So in order to promote your business, you really have to plan properly and strategize to see how you want to introduce your organization to the masses. And Instagram itself has strict brand enforcement. So you really have to look at their rules and regulations, because they have closed accounts when brands have kind of stepped over their regulations and so forth. So your brand has a certain look, but Instagram also has a certain look, and you have to find the right medium to blend them together. The only bad thing is you can't turn off messaging from followers. You can do that in Facebook, but they just don't have that function yet in Instagram. And I'm sure as often as the algorithms change, in a year or so, if they haven't already been working on it, this is going to change. And a downfall that I find is that Instagram is not optimized with the shapes that Facebook is. If you're doing an ad in Facebook, you have the landscape measurements, you have portrait measurements, you have carousel measurements. If you are selling real estate and you have 5 properties for sale, you want to carousel all of those properties so that your future buyer can see all of the listings that you have. So if you're going to post to Facebook and you want to use a landscape, you have to post separately to Instagram, because typically right now they only have a box. They are starting to come out with some customizations, but they are slow in rolling them out. So you just have to keep your eye on it. And the app on your phone has much more functionality and filters rather than going, strictly because it is web-based. So it's actually a lot more fun. Although a downside to that is also you have a larger screen on your laptop or on your desktop or your tablet, whatever mobile device or electronic device you're using. You can sometimes see details much better on a screen than you can on your phone. But the functionality is not there and you can't really be as creative. And one of the downfalls to Instagram that I have found, sometimes it can take a little time to increase your followers. Even though people may be liking your posts or loving your posts, or they comment and they share it, unlike Facebook, to get more followers, you need to follow others. You need to follow individuals in your industry. Follow individuals who are members of your organization, companies that are partnering with you. Follow them. Universities that you're partnering with in order to help them spread the word about technical communication in their colleges and universities. It's kind of like, I'll follow you if you follow me. So someone who is connected with, say, Temple University, and they have a technical communication program, your organization follows the program on Instagram, and then therefore the directors or the educators and students that are connected with Temple would be able to follow your organization back. So you're kind of, you're sharing, and you can share content as well. So if there's something that Temple puts out about technical communication that you want to have shared, if you are following them, you can share it to your audience. And that's all I've got. So Instagram, like any social media platform, it has its great points and its not so great points. But the main reason for Instagram may be the perfect match for your brand. And just because we're still in a pandemic and maybe only things are going on virtually, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't open an Instagram account. We actually had that conversation in our chapter meeting. Should we should we open an Instagram account? There's nothing going on. No, there's a lot going on, but we're just not in person to do that. But you can still get that same feeling and that same story out, even if it's virtual. You can still have pictures. You can still do video. You can gather some of the members together or some of the council members together to shoot a video. You can shoot your Zoom meeting if you wanted to and share that. If you're in the planning process, there's still things to share. So just because we're still in a pandemic, even though hopefully we're slowly moving outside of the pandemic, there are still things that you can share on Instagram. So I think we're going to open the floor up to any questions at this point in time.
Yes. Okay. We do have a question, Maureen, from Laura. And I guess it's like two questions, but I think you had discussed this, but I'm just going to mention it anyway. You might want to say something else about it. And Laura says that she has found that a lot of younger people don't use Facebook. And I think you had mentioned that.
That's very true. The main ages for Facebook are typically late 20s, so 29, 30-ish, up to like 65 years of age. So the younger generation, the millennials, if you know a millennial, you're related to a millennial, you have children who are millennials, or you are a millennial, Instagram is the social media platform.
Okay. And then also Laura had asked, and I think you touched on this too, is the Philadelphia Metro chapter, if you're using Instagram, are you reaching new people with Instagram? Or it might be a little too soon for you to see the difference.
To be honest, I have not checked our stats for Instagram. But I have some work to do on my end because there are industry leaders that are members of our chapter and members of, the New York chapter and so forth that we should be following that we're not. And so it takes time. Marketing these days takes longer than ever because of the social media influx. And if you're using multiple social media platforms, it takes even longer. So you really need time to let that develop because it will develop.
Okay. And then Melissa asked, can you spell out Pew Research? Because you had mentioned the Pew Research.
Yes, it's PEW. Pew, it used to be Pew Charitable Trusts. And now it goes on, their research division is now Pew Research. And I believe that can be found at www.pewpew.com.
Okay. And I'm just scrolling through here. And I guess Danielle had a mention that millennials are in their 30s and 40s. People in their 20s are Gen Z. And they're only connected to Facebook if they're on gaming streams. So they use IG too. Okay.
I actually have to say that my son is 24 and he's very rarely on Facebook. My daughter is 30 and she is usually on Snapchat, to be honest. She uses Snapchat, Instagram, occasionally Facebook. She uses Facebook because she knows we use Facebook, and if I want to see my grandkids every day, she'll post pictures on Facebook. But she's typically on Instagram.
Oh, okay. And then Laura says, yes, I'm a millennial, about the same age as Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah. And the generation after me doesn't use Facebook. So yeah, I think that's what you said.
And that's why you need multiple social media platforms, because if you're missing an age bracket that you want to promote to, whether that is organically, meaning you're posting for nothing, you're not using any money, any monetary at all, you're not using any monies to post, it takes a while to cultivate because they have to find you. And that's why following other people that are in their area, they'll be able to follow you because they'll show up in the feed, in their feed.
Okay. And then Laura has a mention, and I thought I would read this because it's, maybe helpful for the other attendees listening, that they have a college student volunteer at their chapter, and she's going to ask him to set up an Instagram account for us. So that's also a good idea. Maybe an intern, or if you have volunteers in that age group, uh, for those community leaders on now, that you might hand it over to them and say, and I'm sure they would really enjoy it and learn a lot. They'll be learning about your chapter or your SIG, and then you'll be getting all that promotion, and you don't have all that, because you said social media, it does take time, so it'd be good to have that.
But you also have to make sure that at some point in time that student's going to leave.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that you're learning beside them. So learn together, because someone's going to have to take over that account when they move on.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, because you'd hate to see something grow, and
Exactly.
it's just like when you see the old, like the websites, and nothing's happening for
Right.
months at a time. Yeah, you don't want to do all that work.
Yeah, you have to keep the engagement going. Once you get them, and you have to keep them, or you've all learned the first impressions count, and it means the same in social media. If you're not keeping them engaged, they're moving on, and they're moving on quick.
Yeah. And then let's see, it's almost to the hour, but I think we have time for one or two questions more. Anita says, if you let us know on Slack, we can all follow each other. So I guess she's talking about, as Philadelphia chapter might follow South Texas, or South Texas might follow Carolina or New York. Okay, so that's a good idea, Anita. And then what you're saying then, Maureen, is that's a way to build up your own Instagram. Absolutely. And support each other chapters. And I'm just curious here, who's listening now on the chapters and SIGs, how many people have Instagram accounts right now? So we know who to follow. See if someone types. Okay. Someone's going to start one. Do not. Okay, setting one up. That's the IDL SIG. So yeah, so the STC Slack channel, and probably could do it on the # leadership perhaps, and just say that, let's see, opened, and then Tricia for Ohio chapter opened one 2 years ago, and she doesn't know what to do with it. So again, the case of starting.
A lot of people are in that position because they see so many people and on their websites and so forth that have a Facebook icon, an Instagram icon, a YouTube icon, a Twitter icon, a Snapchat icon, whatever the icons are. They figure, well, I have to be part of the bunch. Not necessarily, but you really do need to look at who you want to have follow you. And if that's part of your marketing strategy, or you're changing your marketing strategy to include target audiences you haven't been in the past, then Instagram is probably a good place to start.
Okay. And okay, Tricia says thank you.
You're welcome.
And we're almost to the hour, but I guess I'm going to ask an obvious question as an Instagram newbie. If the chapters do want to start following each other, like perhaps maybe Ohio wants, or a SIG, maybe they want to follow the IDL SIG or Washington, DC, what's the best way to become followers on Instagram?
Well, the only way I know of, and if someone is here can tell me something different, I am all ears. you go onto Instagram and there's a search engine. And you can type in the name of an organization or an individual and see if they have an account. If they have an account, you can go to their page and then click follow. That's the only way I know how to do it right now.
Okay, that's
But that's the time consideration.
yeah. No, that's very informative. So that's the way you do with that.
I found many people doing that.
Yeah.
Just, if you're sitting watching mindless television, it's a good time to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been very interesting, and I think the questions are slowing down, but it's definitely another a tool in the toolbox. And you saw the amazing audience reach. It's something that I guess to sum up, you're saying use it selectively, but definitely explore it.
Yes, look into it and explore it and see if it's right for you. I was going to say something, and now my age is showing. But it is something to consider. This is what I want to say. If the more social media platforms you add to your arsenal, you really need to have a marketing strategy for each of them because they reach different audiences. You're posting different things. You're designing your promotions around the social media platform. So instead of just you can have a broad marketing plan, which is great. But when you're drilling down, you really need to have a separate marketing strategy for each one of these platforms because they are very different.
Okay, that's great advice. And I think because we are at the hour, that's a great, I think, point to leave it at. That again, thank you very much, Maureen, for this informative talk about Instagram. And we have recorded it, so it will be available in the next few days. And thank you, all the attendees, for joining us. And everyone, have a good night.
Thanks, everybody. Reach out when you can if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you.